Chapter 9. Marching the Army. Sun Tzu said, "When positioning troops and assessing the enemy in different types of terrain, there are certain principles that must be followed. When marching through mountainous regions, always move along valleys where water and grass are plentiful. When encamping, choose high ground that faces the sun. If the enemy holds the high ground, do not attack uphill." These are the basic guidelines for operating in mountain terrain. When crossing rivers, set up camp at a distance from the water's edge. If the enemy is in the process of crossing a river, do not attack them midstream. Wait until half their force has crossed before striking. If a battle must take place near a river, do not position your troops too close to the water. Instead, choose elevated and sunlit ground. Never station your forces downstream or against the flow. These are the principles for maneuvering near rivers. When passing through marshland or salty terrain, move quickly and do not linger. If battle becomes unavoidable in such ground, camp near water and vegetation, and lean on the cover of trees. These are the principles for operating in marshy areas. On open plains, set camp in flat open areas. Let your flanks rest against higher ground, with the rear slightly elevated. These are the basic principles for maneuvering on level ground. These 4 principles of positioning an army are why the Yellow Emperor was able to dominate the lands in all directions. In general, armies should prefer high ground and avoid low-lying or damp places. Favoring sunny areas and avoiding dark, wet spots keeps the soldiers healthy. Staying near sources of water and grass ensures steady supplies and prevents disease. These are the essentials for a victorious army. When marching along ridges or embankments, position the army on the sun-facing side and anchor the main flank against the terrain. This gives the army the advantage of the land. If you see foam on the water's surface while crossing a river, it indicates heavy rain upstream. It is best to wait until the current calms before crossing. Avoid and steer the enemy toward dangerous terrain, such as steep riverbanks, low basins surrounded by higher ground, difficult narrow valleys, tangled underbrush, or boggy and unstable ground. Such areas are difficult to enter and harder to exit. These are places where armies can become trapped and overwhelmed. When you encounter deep forests, overgrown wetlands, or areas with thick vegetation, proceed with caution. These spots are ideal for enemy ambushes or spies. Always search them carefully and repeatedly. If the enemy is close but calm, they likely hold a strong position. If they challenge you from afar, they are trying to lure you out. If they leave the high ground and camp in open terrain, they likely see an advantage. If many trees ahead suddenly shake, the enemy may be approaching in secret. If fake structures and obstacles are scattered among the grass, they are creating false formations. If birds suddenly take flight from the forest, troops may be lying in wait below. If animals flee in panic, an ambush could be underway. If dust rises high and thick, enemy chariots are coming. If it spreads low and wide, foot soldiers are on the move. If dust is scattered and thin, wood is being gathered. If it rises intermittently, scouts are exploring the terrain and preparing a camp. If the enemy speaks humbly while reinforcing their position, they are preparing to attack. If their language is bold but their actions are cautious, they may be planning to retreat. If their chariots move to the flanks, they are preparing to deploy for battle. If they ask for peace while they are not under pressure, they may be planning a trap. If they march rapidly and spread out their chariots, they are likely seeking a confrontation. If they appear undecided about advancing or retreating, they are trying to draw you in. If enemy soldiers lean on their weapons while standing, they are hungry. If water carriers drink before others, their army is thirsty. If they ignore obvious rewards or resources, they are exhausted. If birds gather over their camp, the site is likely abandoned. If there are shouts in the night, panic has set in. If the camp is noisy and confused, the commander has lost control. If flags flutter in disarray, the troops are disorganized. If officers are easily angered, the troops are worn out. If they feed their horses grain, slaughter them for meat, and pack up their cooking pots without returning to camp, they are preparing for a desperate breakout. If the general speaks to his soldiers with pleading humility, he has lost their loyalty. Repeatedly offering rewards shows desperation and fear of desertion. Repeatedly punishing the troops reveals a breakdown in discipline and an attempt to restore authority through fear. A commander who is cruel when strong, but fearful when weak, lacks wisdom. If the enemy sends envoys with friendly words, they may be seeking a temporary truce. If they appear furious and challenge you, but do not engage or withdraw, be alert. They may have a hidden plan. Victory in war is not about having the most soldiers. It depends on avoiding recklessness, concentrating forces effectively, and clearly understanding the situation. Overconfidence and lack of planning will only lead to defeat and capture. If soldiers are punished before they feel loyalty to their leaders, they will resent it. If they are trusted and valued but not held to discipline, they cannot be used effectively in battle. Therefore, the wise commander uses both virtue and law, teaching unity through moral guidance and ensuring order through discipline. Only then can the army become truly unbeatable. When discipline and instruction are enforced regularly, the soldiers will obey. When such practices are ignored, they will disobey. The ability to enforce law and educate the troops is a sign of a strong relationship between the general and the army. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more.